Nah, this gonna be easy.
I don't want to do this anymore.
This game is amazing. I absolutely love everything and anything about this game, except certain things that we'll get into later. Now, I'm no stranger to admitting that I did underestimate this challenge a lot. I'd been playing this game for about 3 years, and I thought I fought all these bosses plenty of times. I could do them all without dying once. Don't think like me. Not only is it hard under pressure after you're 40 minutes into a run and are fighting the hardest boss in the game, it's super taxing when you have to fight the same boss for the 50th time. And it's just so heartbreaking when you die on a boss and you're just thinking, wow, I need to go fight 17 more bosses to get back to the same spot I was just at. And honestly, I'd rather watch paint dry while strapped to an electric chair than to sit here and look at this stupid, ugly round. You'll hear more about him later. The only 3 rules for this challenge are don't die, which is kind of a given because it's a no-death run. Rule number 2 is no smoke bomb or health items, and that's mainly just because we're not a little pussy. And finally, rule number 3 is no glitches, but you don't really have to worry about that because I don't know any glitches anyway. One last thing, sorry about these black bars. I couldn't change my resolution on Cuphead, and I'm on a monitor that's wider than 1920 by 1080, so I don't really know what I'm supposed to do about him. I'm sorry. We start off the run by picking Cuphead because he is easily the superior brother. I feel like Mugman's nose is just too fucking big. We're going to be skipping the dialogue a lot because I don't want to read through it every single time. We have to speak to Elder Kettle here to get our powers, and he pulls the potion out of his head? Like, okay, I guess he just stores shit in there. I've learned not to overanalyze this game because there's so many things that don't make sense, but whatever. We get 3 coins from this apple guy. Then we go immediately into the first run and gun of the isle. We don't need to do the run and guns, but it's the fast way to get coins, so we just do 2 quick ones anyway. We did actually die on this once. Well, at that point I was angry, but I just really didn't have the energy to openly express it, so otherwise the run and gun's pretty easy and we complete no problem. We use the money we just got to buy the spread and the roundabout. We'll get one more a little bit later on, but for now, these 2 are the only ones we're gonna have. We're then on to our first boss of the run, the Root Pack. These guys are pretty easy. They never stopped a run ever. I just barrel stuff them with the spread and it brings their health down very fast. The only thing I really ever remember about this fight is that the carrot has a really funny name. Like, what kind of a name is Chauncey Chantenay? We just stick to the same plan of using the spread, and our first boss of the run is taken down easily. If you don't know the story of Cuphead, I'll explain it right now very briefly. Cuphead went all in and lost, so to live, he has to defeat all these bosses and take their souls. Also, design detail here. Why did they give the literal coin guy a big-ass nose? That's gotta be motivated. Anyways, our next boss fight is against Ribby and Croaks. This is arguably the hardest boss in Inkwell Isle One, but that doesn't really mean a lot because everyone on this isle really sucks. It's really the same strategy for every single one of these first bosses. I just use the spread and it drains their health very fast. Back to what I was saying earlier about overanalyzing the game. One frog eats the other one and turns into a slot machine. Hell yeah! It doesn't make sense, but we just gotta go with it. His hand will drop and we'll parry it and it'll start rolling. It'll roll 1 of 3 attacks, those being bulls, frogs, or tigers. You can only hit him during the attack phase, so minimum we have to go through 2 of these. Luckily we get bulls and frogs because I fucking hate the tigers. We pop our EXs and Ribby and Croaks are taken down. If there was one boss that I was actually happy to see each run, it's this next one. Like, look at him, come on, he's tough. He's damn near the easiest boss in the game, but I still love him. He's number 2 in my top 3. During his second phase, he does actually get me to 1 HP, but we fought him so many times to where I wasn't even really worried. He then starts fighting us as a gravestone. Every boss has some type of wonky phase, and that low-key makes me just love the game even more. We actually got super close to dying here, which would have been very embarrassing, but it doesn't really matter because in the end, we didn't die. We then have our first plane level against her. Like, actually, what even is she? A blimp? Some type of airplane? A twink on a unicycle? I have no idea, but she'd be turning into a bull and lesbians, I think. And then she like actually starts tweaking. Like, tell me you hear this and this is not someone just tweaking. Like, I don't even understand what that's supposed to be. And then she just turns into Molester Moon. Like, can you not see why I hate this boss? Like, look at how ugly she is. This phase is still light work though. We just fly past the red UFOs and wait out the brown UFOs and she goes down no problem. I mean, thank God, right? I don't want to have to look at her stupid face any longer. We then go into our second and final run and gun of the run. Run and gun of the run? What? Sounds weird. This running gun isn't hard, it's just really annoying because of certain enemies like this guy. You have to dodge them as well as the tree trunks that spit literal spike balls at you, and it is very annoying. After that part, it's really just grabbing coins and platforming. We do skip this coin down here because most of the time I would get hit trying to get it, and we don't need it because we already got 4 anyway. And thank God I didn't, right? Because that skip you just saw over the moth or dragonfly or whatever the fuck it is, I hit every single run before this one. And if I had 1 health, I would have died, and that would have literally made me punch my monitor. I'm not even kidding. We then use the money we just got to buy the best shot in the game, the charge shot. I ain't gonna lie, I've not liked the charge shot up until now. I just feel like holding down the button is what I like to do, and with the charge shot, you have to hold it down until it's fully charged and then let go of it, so you need to time it, and I don't really like doing that. But I am not kidding when I say this shot saved all my runs and made them so much easier. I'll talk more about it later, but for now we need to go against the final boss of the Isle, Cagney Carnation. For some reason I can't find the footage of when I died to him, but my first run trying this challenge I died on him. He's normally a problem when he does this attack, when he does like the Gatling and shoots out a bunch of seeds, but in the winning run, he never did that. He just skipped past it and went into his phase, and I think that's mainly because of the charge shot and how high DPS it is. I'm telling you, if you're playing the game for the first time, just use a charge shot. It'll be so much easier, I promise. He forces us onto the platforms in this phase, but it doesn't really make a difference because I was sitting on the platforms to shoot him anyway, and he goes down easy. Defeating him means we're done with Inkwell Isle One, so we run into this dice house, talk to King Dice, who is really looking mad spiffy. I mean, look at him. Elder Kettle then tries talking to us, but to be blunt, we don't give a shit. We keep this shit pushing. Immediately we're off to our first boss, who has this long-ass name, so I'm just gonna call her Princess Bubblegum. Princess Bubblegum's first phase has 3 different stages. She'll send out one of her minions, and each time you kill it, the stage will get slightly harder. She starts off sending the Jawbreaker guy, who is easily the easiest one out of the 5. She then sends the Gumball guy, who just looks so dumb. Like, he just looks dumb. There's nothing more I can say. Then she sends out the Waffle, and I want to make this clear. It's a waffle. It's not chocolate. Nobody puts butter on chocolate. The Waffle's taken down, and then she gets her castle to just start crawling at us while she throws her own head that tries to hit us. Like, I don't even know at this point. It's just unsettling. But it's only about like 3 charge shots until she's taken out, so this phase is light work. We'll then talk to this guy who upgrades our plane and gives us bombs, which will be really good for the next fight. But I have no idea what he is. Like, what is he? I deadass just put Cuphead playing guy in the search and he came up. His name's Canteen, so he's a Canteen. Our next fight is against Wally Warbles, who easily sneaks into the number 3 spot for me. Like, Wally Warbles is just such a cool name. If I was in a boxing match and my opponent was named Wally Warbles, I'd be scared of him hitting that. And I just love this boss fight. It just has a lot of character and it's really cool. He does start geeking really bad though. I guess sometimes you gotta tweak, it is what it is. What I wanna know is who would ruin this perfect boss fight with this? This is Wally's son, Willy Warbles. Wait, Willy? Dash? Never mind. As you can tell, I do not like him a lot. He just, like, why is his forehead so big? Also, this picture just doesn't... This picture doesn't do him any justice either, bro. Like, I can't not laugh while looking at this picture. Anyways, the only real hard part of this fight is the final phase where Wally's in a stretcher with 2 nurse birds. It just ends up clogging the screen and it's really hard to maneuver, and it did end up killing me once. Wait, what? I was on 1 life? In that run, I guess I had thought I was on 2 lives when I was actually on 1. I don't really know. Other than that, this phase didn't really cause too much trouble. I also want to bring up how they start seasoning him, which is just, ugh. It's cannibalism and they're the nurses that were helping him. Like, this is just weird. But we're off to get our first super of the run, and we get to hear the toughest line in the whole game.
The goons are out tonight. You're up.
I just know King Von would be shivering if he heard that. The point of this is to get a super, which is an ability we can use once we reach max cards. To get it, we just need to keep these ghosts from getting to the vase, and it's pretty much just an easy parry test, so... After we finish, we get to talk to Miss Chalice, who will give us our super, and she is not the baddest character in the game. Just trust me. Just trust me. The super will make our next boss so much easier. And normally, we'd have to defeat a different boss to fight our next boss, but we can actually sneak behind the scenery and fight the boss early. This boss showed me that the worst was yet to come. This boss sucked, is what I would say if I didn't discover... When I say this boss was like an NFL D-line, I'm not kidding. Boss is moose.
Nope, the dog.
A dog? Fucking, I always get too close. Notice anything similar? They're all on the same phase. Grimm's last phase sucks monkey shit ass fart balls. The one thing about this phase that sucks is that you can't hold shoot. The fireballs that Grimm shoots when hit twice will pop into more fireballs. This one gimmick is the only thing that makes Grimm's fight hard. I was stuck. The last phase was a wall. Until... Alright, I'll stop doing that. Using the charge shot plus the super we just got that gives us invincibility, it makes the fight so much easier. I didn't even use a single one of my cards up until the last phase when I had full. That's how much I despise this last phase. Since the charge shot has range, high damage, and is only 1 shot, it's the literal savior of this fight. If the charge shot was a woman, I'd take her out on the nicest dinner date I could find. We pop our super, and after that, we've conquered the defensive line. At this point, our confidence is super high. We've defeated what's thought as a top 5 boss in the game and the hardest boss of the Isle. With that in our mind, these next 2 bosses are shitter bobs. First up, we have the Clown. This is another boss that the charge shot just makes too easy. That paired with the spread, which is also super strong in this fight, this boss is nothing. First 3 phases are pretty average. I just play them like I would normally. I shit-talked this boss a lot, but he did actually get me to 1 HP. But it doesn't really matter as long as we're on the last phase. If you have the right kit, it's impossible to get hit on this last phase. In his last phase, he'll turn into a carousel, which makes him a background boss, which means we can just pelt him with the spread and do as much damage as we want. Normally this phase is tough because he spawns these penguins that throw baseballs and they clog up the screen. But since we have the invincibility super, we just don't get hit and just keep shooting him. If you've done everything right, he should die before your invincibility is up, and it's the freest fight ever. Next, we have the Genie. So let me introduce you to my bottom 3, where the Genie places second. I don't dislike him for any specific reason, it's just like, I don't like him. Maybe because his fight is so damn long, I don't know. His first and second phase are really just dodging, so those are hella light. It's his last 3 phases that are the problem. Yeah, he has 5 phases. In his third phase, he turns into a tapeworm and just throws a bunch of things at you. Planets, mummies, it doesn't matter. They're coming for you. Just like me if you don't subscribe. Anyways, his 4th phase is the easiest of the last 3. He makes a puppet who just low-key be hitting that shit, like... Almost made me want to put him in my top 3. We'll just say he's a close 4th. There's also this hat that shoots shit at us, but they're not that hard to dodge, so it doesn't really do much. We then get to his last phase. A lot of people say this is a really hard phase, but it's really not. I'm not saying it's easy, but you just need to see which pyramid is about to shoot and position yourself accordingly to dodge it, and it's fine. I know I got hit there, I'm just gonna ignore it. Ignore it! You learn that, and this last phase is free. Defeating the genie marks the end of Isle 2, which means we can finally get to the hard bosses. King Dice and the Devil have some dialogue that I didn't bother reading, but I did see that he called us Finks. Oh. Anyways, we can finally see our favorite boss in the game. No, I'm not talking about this ugly bee. I'm talking about Paul Blart B. He's just so cool. I don't get how anybody could dislike him. He looks like Paul Blart if he was a bee. This phase isn't difficult, I just really like Paul Blart B. Easy one spot. These next two phases are the reason why this fight is hard. The queen bee will drop from the right, middle, or left. If she's on the right or left, she'll use either purple circles or the triangles. If she goes down the middle, she'll start shooting these bee bullets from her mouth. Which is kind of weird, like does she make the bee bullets like in her mouth? Or does she like have them stored in there for later? I have no idea, it's just something to think about. In terms of difficulty, in my opinion, I'd say the triangles are the hardest, followed by the circles and then the bees. The triangles just put you in such an awkward situation where you have to platform, dodge the triangle itself and the things it shoots from its corners, and it just ends up getting you hit. The circles are kind of in the same boat. They don't shoot projectiles at you, but they can still push you into a situation where you have to get hit, like right here. The bee bullets are the easiest. If you literally just jump up twice and down once, it's impossible for them to hit you because of your maneuvering. In the winning run, we ended up getting circles and triangles, which means we got really unlucky, and that put us on 1 HP for the whole final phase. In her final phase, she straight up just turns into a plane. This phase wouldn't really be that hard, but we have to shoot down while platforming up, and it just makes it very uncomfortable. Not to mention we're on 1 HP, so one mistake could cost us the run. Oof. I don't think I would have made it if I didn't pop that. Let's go. Well played. Well played. She really caught us off guard with the second axe attack, but luckily we had our super, and that single-handedly saved the run. Next up we have the robot. I think the community has set in stone that this boss is top 3. I don't really agree. I think he's like 6. All you need to do is use that big brainy ores that I hope you have to assess the fight and see which is the easiest route to take. You can choose to attack 3 parts, his noggin, his chest, or his belly button? It's too high to be his meat, so destroying each one will advance the fight in some way. Destroying his chest first will cause this magnet to come out to pull you and f you up no matter what you're doing. Also, this arm that just straight cuts the arena in half and then sends projectiles at you. If you destroy the bottom one, these bombs will come out that have a huge blast radius. They also track you, so you're gonna have to shoot them and blow them up at some point. Or you can take out the noggin, which launches this nut and bolt attack that's really easy to dodge. Take a guess to which one we're gonna take out first. The order is noggin, belly button, chest. Once we take all 3 of these out, his heart will pop out, and that's what we've been saving our supers for, so we use those, and then we just blast the heart. Did anyone see that movement there? Just me? Okay. He then malfunctions and shoots his head at us, and I do not care what anyone says. This is his hardest phase. Oh, that would have been bad. What? No, 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 no! Oh, dude, I just got overwhelmed. I thought the heart was out when I did my nuke, and I got... Oh. I've come to really hate this phase. It also knocks me down to 1 HP before the final phase, so in back-to-back bosses, I'm gonna have to do the final phase with 0 mistakes. But this time we don't have our super. If there was one time in the run where I was the most locked in, it's this final phase. Nice. Whew. Well played again. Beating those last 2 bosses was like a weight had just been lifted from my shoulders. But then I remembered our next boss was this guy. I would say we're fighting Captain Jack Sparrow now, but he's too round. Like, why is he so round? And he just looks so dumb. Like, he's so stupid. This fight is actually one of the easier ones, but I just don't like him. I just really don't like him. He can stay at number 1 forever. And honestly, I'm just gonna throw Willy down there too. Anyways, the hardest part of this fight ain't even the captain, it's this smug looking barrel. The barrel will drop down when its eyes look angry. He'll just be up there the whole fight and stay giving us something to watch out for. The next phase will start without a transition, and we know when it started when the fucking ship just starts shooting cannonballs at us out of its mouth. The captain also calls in some sea creatures, but I hate the captain. In the final phase, the ship gets angry and just wakes up. And then in the background, you can see Captain Brandybeard just fly into the ocean. And when I tell you that just purifies my soul, it really does. The ship then just shoots a piss beam at us. How? The strategy for this fight is to just use the charge shot. That's it. After defeating the ugliest boss in the game, we can go fight the best looking boss in the game. Don't get it twisted though, this boss was the D-line after the D-line. It's over. One mistake and it's over, Sean.
Well, then don't make a mistake.
That's what I'm talking about. This boss is what gave me the most trouble in this challenge. I did die way more times on Grim, but dying on Grim meant I would only have to go through Isle 1 bosses and 2 Isle 2 bosses to get back to him. But dying on Calamaria meant I would have to go through Grim and the robot and the bee and the genie and this guy again. That's why dying on this boss broke me. Just shoot it! Oh no!
Like,
No!
One eye open while I'm sleeping. One eye.
Oh, dude, that phase is so undoable. Not to mention, it happened twice. Fuck! Oh, dude. It sucks. That phase sucks. It sucks so bad. Alright, enough crying about the boss. Let me explain the strategy. Oh, wait. There's no strategy. The only thing we can do is hope that she doesn't pull out the yellow fish. Oh, of course she pulls out the fucking yellow fish. The yellow fish spawns this annoying-ass eel that tracks you. And if it's paired up with the pufferfish like it is here, it will most likely end in a hit. Now we can start talking about her second phase. Oh my. In her second phase, she'll be able to start petrifying us, in which we need to break the shit out of our controller stick to get out of. There is an actual strategy for this one. We want to make sure to get rid of the eels before they start clogging the screen, so we just turn into a nuke and just blast them all. Luckily, right before she petrifies us, she goes into her last phase. Now this last phase is the worst. She puts us in this slim-ass hallway where she could petrify us at any point, and there's spikes in the middle which we need to go around. We somehow don't get hit here, probably because I damn near broke the stick of my controller. We then have enough for a nuke, which means we pretty much sealed the fight. We then get a breath of fresh air because our next two bosses are really easy. First up is Sally's stage play, in which we have a very confusing strategy, but I'll explain it to you very easy. In her first phase, you're going to want to use the charge shot. In her second phase, charge shot. In her third phase, things get a little more complicated. Shoot her with the charge shot. And then in her final phase, come on, you know what to do. Next up, we have the rat. I like the rat, but there's nothing really special about his fight. He does spit a bar, though. This is such a tough line, but I think that means 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we'll go with that. Just like Sally's stage play, we just strictly use the charge shot pretty much the whole fight. None of his stages are really hard at all. Like, this is just platforming. Like, you could straight up just remove Grim from his fight and it would still be harder. And in this fight, he freaks out so much he ends up getting eaten. So now instead of fighting the rat, we have to fight the cat, who to be honest, isn't much harder than the rat. So with no sweat whatsoever, we take out the cat, who turns out to be a robot and was being controlled by the rat. Whoa, plot twist. Our break is over, so now we need to go fight the ghoul train. Sorry, the Phantom Express. I like calling them the ghoul train, it's a funny name. The ghoul train is the last wall before we're in endgame, and this is the fight that gave me the most heartbreaking loss of the entire challenge. Oh, let me get it. Jeez, bro. Oh, dude. Oh my gosh. You are joking, dude. Oh.
I'm gonna tweak. I don't want to do this anymore.
Normally dying literally 2 bosses from the end of the game is gonna make you want to punch your monitor. But what made it so much worse was that Cuphead was a pube hair of damage away from the end. Hey, but we learned from our mistakes, right? I knew the next time I got this far, I was not going to lose. The trick to this fight is to really pay attention to the pumpkins and ghosts that drop shit on your little cart thingy. This cart is the only platform you can stand on this entire fight, and if something's just moving it without you wanting it to, it's going to fuck you up big time. Also, you want to pair the roundabout with the charge shot, because the roundabout is actually really good on this fight, especially in the first phase. The only really difficult phase is the last phase when you're actually fighting the train itself. This phase just gives you a lot of different things to focus on. You have to focus on shooting the train, dodging this bone thing and the fireballs, and then you actually have to parry his tail to open it up. But we had our super this time, so compared to the first time, this fight was easy. We've made it. We've cleared 3 whole isles, a total of 17 bosses. And now all we have left is King Dice and the Devil. Look at this picture I found. I didn't know bro was zesty like that. Anyways, we have to go through King Dice before we fight the Devil. And for some reason, he's just larger than he normally is. Or maybe then he was smaller than he normally is. It doesn't really matter. King Dice is just a bunch of mini bosses that they let us pick, so we could have done a very smart strategy and picked the easiest ones, but I low-key just forgot. First up, we go against a bunch of poker chips who I didn't realize before, but he is really annoying to fight. What the? I didn't see that one. That sucks. Now, getting hit once wouldn't be much of a problem, but we got hit twice, which made me extremely nervous going into the later fights. Oh no. I'm already on 1 life. This ain't looking good. This ain't looking good. Luckily, there's bosses that give us health back, so we just went for those instead of any other boss. And even though I fought him before, I didn't remember which number was which boss, so I was just kind of going into it without knowing shit. We got this domino that I've never fought, but we have 2 lives, so we're chilling. Oh, I dove in here. Okay, so now we're back down to 1 life, and I get really nervous again. But it's all good in the end, because we ended up winning. And then the woman domino just starts kicking the guy, poor bro. Alright, next up we got... Oh, it's the monkey!
But if you don't take out that monkey, you ain't going nowhere. You wanna get out of here? Get rid of that monkey!
Anyways, the monkey fight sucks. It's just a long guessing game and it's so boring. I think it actually took 5 minutes. But defeating the monkey means we're done with the mini bosses. Now we can get under the super hard final phase, and it's a parry test.
Boring.
This phase is light work. The last boss of the challenge, the Devil. In my opinion, the hardest boss in the whole entire game. Will I defeat him and secure the challenge? Or lose to him and get sent back to the very beginning? Was every boss up to this point for nothing if I lose? Will I even be able to come back after losing on the final fight? What happens if I lose here? How many times will I have to redo it? Am I actually gonna do it? Can I win? Thinking all these things, I knew there was only one thing I could do. Start the fight and find out. For this fight, we'll be using the charge shot and the spread shot. We chose the spread shot over the roundabout here because the spread shot is way more better at crowd control, and in later phases the devil starts spawning a shit ton of enemies, so we're gonna need that. But for right now, we just want to keep shooting him with the charge shot and be sure to keep track of which side the little devil in the back is gonna be coming from. We're also hoping he doesn't turn into a spider because that phase is the one that I have the most trouble with. Of course. I never got hit during the attack, but normally it's just so tough to dodge for some reason. Then he jumps out of his skin? And now we need to fight a really stupid looking phase. It reminds me of this kid for some reason. This phase is low-key easier than the first one. We just need to watch out for the axe and parry the bomb that he makes in his mind and comes out of his ear. What? Just keep pelting him with the spread and then he'll go into his third phase. In this phase, 2 of our platforms will disappear and he'll just start spawning enemies everywhere, and our main goal is to get rid of all the enemies around the arena. Clearing out all the enemies pretty much guarantees that you're not going to get hit. So for the rest of the phase, you pretty much just pelt him with the spread and take out any more enemies he spawns. And then you have his last phase. People dislike this phase because it's pretty much just RNG. You just need to hope you jump to the side that doesn't have the tier. But we have something that lets us go invincible. So, yeah. And it's over, it's done. He's dead. Oh, all done. Whew. Well played. Thank God it's over though. We cleared this fool without even getting hit. Now normally I'd say I'm gonna go eat because I'd been playing this game for about 3 hours at this point and I was starving. But there was one more thing I wanted to do. I immediately went back into the seed so I could go to this fountain that tells you how many times you've died. And I'm gonna literally show my whole entire walk there just so you guys can believe me that I did this without dying. I'm making sure there's no jump cuts either so you guys don't just think I cheated. So while we're walking there, I'm going to talk about the challenge a little bit. Now, the only other challenge I've really ever done was the 1020 mode on Sister Location, so that's what I'm going to compare it to. It's true that Sister Location took less time, but thinking of that, a Sister Location night is 6 minutes. So if I died, I could literally just jump back into it immediately. For this challenge, I could be 30 minutes into a run, die, and have to start back at the very beginning. That is the only reason it took much longer. Now, would I say that this challenge was harder than Sister Location? No. This challenge gave me a lot of like breathers and there's more strategy to it. And Sister Location is just insanely fast paced. You just like have to just go. And I feel like that alone just makes Sister Location tougher. I went the wrong way here, just ignore it. So in the end, I believe Sister Location was a harder challenge even though it took less time. The challenge is tough, but with enough experience and strategy, you should be able to take it down no problem. Here's the fountain though, and the fountain will tell you that I've perished 0 times because I've perished 0 times. If you still don't believe me, I don't know what else I can really do to show you. You're just gonna have to trust me on this one. Alright, that's all for me. Later.